Okay, we have got a lot to cover, so please hang in there. I think you're going to find all of this to be quite interesting. I definitely did. So let's start out with um, uh, a, a report from Goldman Sachs. They did a note this afternoon, and let's take a look. Initial impressions after testing Tesla's most recent available full self-driving software update. He says it's cautious where it needs to be, assertive when it needs to be, seems to demonstrate a heightened sensitivity to pedestrians or things associated with pedestrians like crosswalks. He says there's smoother actuation, overall noticeable improvement from the prior tested 12.3.4. He says, according to Tesla, so this is information that Tesla provided him, the FSD version I drove included relatively minor tweaks, and version 12.4 will show a big jump in capabilities, with most training compute limitations having been eliminated. Other pithy thoughts on robots in a car form factor. Okay, he says, for instance, that LLMs, we know the large language models, means the cars learn by learning and in doing rather than by labeling. Imagine you tell your robot to go pick up the red pen on the floor and balance it on one end on the table. And the robot picks up the pen and balances it on the table. The command and the resulting action is possible due to the robot understanding natural language, knowing what a red pen is, what a table is, and what it was asked to do. In other words, balance it on its end. Even if it never did this precise combination of movements before, it understood when it was asked by observing and imitating permutations of such behavior many times, perhaps millions of times in reality and trillions of times in simulation. I think that might be an overstatement. Even if it was never explicitly told what a red pen was, it just figured it out. He says three different compute systems working together. And he said that an expert in large language models and robotics at a major AI company told him that the field of robot learning has changed profoundly in the past 12 months, and the chances of robots learning from AI has increased from near zero to a point where anything is possible today. The combination of three different compute systems, inference languages at the edge, and then learning computers in data centers, and finally, computers running the robot's digital twin in a simulation in a platform is suddenly all that's merging, and that the AI and the robotics world are being merged together. The power of large language models to combine the learning and vision is the catalyst. He says, okay, what about this? Got Amatadia, lessons from fly eyes. This past week, we spoke with a subject matter expert on optics and metamaterials. This is adjacent to our work on computer vision and neural nets, who encourage us to learn more about the fly eyes, which are comprised of hundreds of hexagonal cone-shaped units, and fly brains, for example, so biology can create systems that can inspire the next generation of robots. The common Drosophila fly does have some amazing reflexes and navigation abilities, considering its brain is the size of a poppy seed. Did you know that optical lenses are actually computers that require no energy? I did not know that. So, can vision sensors replicate the benefits of a fly's compound eye? As it explained to us, as vision systems get down to teeny tiny scale, the functional balance shifts away from the lens of the eyes to the compound systems like the insect's eyes. In other words, it goes from like a mammalian eye to more like an insect eye, opening the door for neuromorphic sensors. Finally, he says, I'm not sorry, this is still not finally. He goes on, the tangential implications for efficiency requirements for edge computing may be significant. In the April 20th, 2023 article in Business Age discussing the benefits of neuromorphic vision sensors, Keenan Ang, CEO and co-founder of Innovation, explains, by allowing each pixel to record independently and only when it's triggered, movement is captured as a continuous stream of information as opposed to frame by frame. This approach reduces the amount of data that we need to send, which reduces the power consumption and greatly improves the responsiveness of the camera. So he says, okay, how much data is Tesla collecting? We estimate Tesla has approximately 5.5 million cars on the road today. and reaching 25 million by full year 30. Tesla's vehicle fleet should be driving a collective 100 billion miles per year by late 2025, according to their forecast. According to the robotics machine learning community, when training robots, it's just not the amount of data that's required for training neural nets, but also the diversity of the data. Video is extremely data rich, but quite low in information density, meaning out of all the information, all these pixels, all these images captured in high definition video from a camera, only a very minute portion is actually useful information to the perception and navigation and actuation of the robot. Collecting monumentally large databases increases the ability for the fleet to capture the more relevant information, corner cases, to improve the system. Okay, so this is really a great explanation for what I don't think I understood, why we needed 6 billion miles of data for the robotaxi system to work, because it's not data rich. It's tons and tons of data, lots of pixels, lots of images, but it needs to have all this variety in order to work. All right, so now let's move over to the economic side. I promised you that I would look up the truckage tonnage information, which nobody else reports on, which I consider to be a canary in the coal mine, because if you don't have to ship it, then it can't get sold. So it's really an evidence of how the economy is going. According to the American Trucking Association's advanced seasonally adjusted for-hire truck tonnage index declined 2% in March, after increasing 4% in February. In March, the index equaled 113.4, with 2015 equaling 100, compared to 115.7 in February. Tonnage in March suggested that truck freight volumes remain lackluster, and it's clear the truck freight recession continued through the first quarter. In the first 3 months of 2024, ATA's tonnage index contracted 0.8% from the previous quarter and declined 2.4% from a year earlier, highlighting ongoing challenges the industry is navigating. February's increase was also revised down slightly from our March 19 press release. Compared with March 2023, the index fell 1%, which is the 13th straight year-over-year decline, but the second smallest over the period. In February, the index was down 1.7 from a year earlier. So overall, once again, truck tonnage and manufacturing, which is the main place where you would expect to see some kind of sink on this, although imports and other things would obviously apply. But in general, what we're looking at is manufacturing is down, small businesses is not doing so well, trucking is not doing well. So all of that indicates that, we're lucky to be doing as well as we are, but maybe not. Maybe it's worse than we think. So you know how much I love Business Insider, but if you look at the articles, sometimes they make sense. I thought this one was valuable. It was in Business Insider. This one says that Danielle DiMartino Booth told Bloomberg TV the U.S. is already mired in a recession and rising job losses prove it. Okay, so that's not what we're hearing from the Fed. So she says, oh my goodness, there's already been 22,000 job loss announcements in the month of May, and it's still a fairly young month. So on a seasonal level, we're seeing a major pickup. That a recession has arrived is not a new position for Booth, who has long pointed to the downwardly revised labor figures to push against the soft landing talk. Supporting this outlook is an indicator developed by Goldman Sachs. She said, when the unemployment rate's 3-month average moves up 0.3 percentage points from its 12-month low, it historically indicates a recession. By that standard, the rule was triggered in October of last year, according to recently published labor revisions through the third quarter of 2023, indicating job losses of 192,000. These revisions, they keep pushing us back further and further from where we thought we were, she said late last month. The fresh data only points to a worsening labor environment, she now added. April's job report delivered fresh weakness to markets, with the number of non-farm payrolls added coming to significantly below estimates. Unemployment also ticked up slightly to 3.9%. She says there were 115,000 job losses in the month of April, which was seasonally higher than that of January. And again, we're about 22,000 with just a hop, skip, and jump of 4 days into May. So we're definitely seeing an acceleration of job cut announcements. Other analysts have also projected rising recession risk hand in hand with a labor market fallout. For instance, a hard landing could hit at the end of this year and send employment surging to 5%, David Rosenberg, famous economist, has said. We know David Rosenberg. In fact, I think I had another article by him that I was planning to bring you, but I think I've lost it. Anyway, this is from Reuters today. U.S. banks reported renewed weakening in demand for industrial loans and a decline in household demand for credit in the first quarter of the year, according to the Federal Reserve survey of senior loan officers. That was published today. Fed officials had the survey results in hand last week when they decided to keep the policy rate steady at 5.25 to 5.5 range and plan to hold it there as long as necessary to bring down inflation. Monetary policy tightening typically works to ease price pressures through credit channels with higher borrowing costs and reducing demand for loans. So that would suggest it's working. That process appeared to be ongoing during the first quarter, with the exception of commercial real estate lending, where signs pointed to some improvements in credit supply and demand. That would be good. Many consumers and businesses are feeling the pinch from reduced credit availability, even as the Fed looks set to keep interest rates higher into 2025. This could set the stage for weaker activity and makes the economy more susceptible to an unexpected shock. The net share of large and medium-sized banks reporting tightening standards ticked up to 15.6 from 14.5. That's for commercial and industrial loans. They also, for commercial real estate loans of all types, the share of banks tightening standards shrank to the lowest in 2 years. Of course, we need those commercial real estate loans to come through because these commercial real estate situations are dire. For households, a rising share of banks reported tightening standards for auto loans, while a shrinking share of banks did so for credit cards and other types of consumer loans, the survey showed. But it would be good if households are not looking for those loans because they have enough money. I'm not sure that's the case. Household land demand deteriorated across all categories, the survey showed, with demand for auto loans at its weakest in a year. Now, is that because people can't afford? Is that because they don't want to buy the car? Or is that because they don't think they can get the loan? Or is that because the interest rates are too high? That they don't give us any color on that, just that demand is low. All right, so let's take a look at where the markets are now. We have got Tesla, after having going up 3.57 today. We have them also just off 32 cents in the after hours for a total gain of 3.25 for the day. So that was good news. We have got the Dow Jones up 176 for the day, NASDAQ up 192, and the S&P 52, a good day overall. And the Magnificent Seven were all up except for Apple. And the Cathie Woods were up except for PayPal. Pretty much everything else was, well, even that was close to even. All right, let's take a look at the bonds. We'll go inside here and take a look at the bond. The 10-year is sitting at 4.49. So the 4.5 number is now back in play in terms of upward. If it's going to crash through the 4.5 again, it looks like not, although it is up half a basis point in the pre-market right now. The 2-year at 4.837 is up 1.5 basis points, and the 2-month also up 1.4 basis points. Let's take a look at oil. Oil prices are picking up a little bit again, 78.87 on Texas Intermediate, 83.33. So basically, both of them are way off of the numbers, like $6 off of where they were about a little over a week ago. Natural gas, it's now at $2.20. I read some articles today that were saying that the demand for natural gas right now is high. Again, partially for the same reason as the copper prices are high. It's all this need for electricity. Natural gas is one of the things that peaker plants, et cetera, use natural gas. When you're putting in new facilities, they are either going to have to put in some kind of supply that takes over when renewables aren't working. And that's, in some cases, that will be a peaker plant, although we're hoping it's always going to be, of course, mega packs. Okay, so natural gas again up strongly again in the pre-market. Gold up on the day as well as in the pre-market is now at 2334, still way off of it was over the 2004 mark last week. We've got copper down just a tad, but still sitting at $4.60. That's about 15 cents off its all-time high. We've got the dollar right now unchanged in the pre-market. We've got the Bitcoin down 751, sitting at 63,169. And then we have got the pre-market. We have got the Dow, I'm sorry, the equities. We have the Dow. In fact, I would just say all three of them are basically unchanged. So we're looking at, 0.1, 0.3, 0.3. Anyway, very, very, very small amounts. You could just call it unchanged. So no real direction, slightly down. Okay, slightly down, but no serious direction on the call for tomorrow morning. Okay, just jumping back to Tesla as we always do to take one more look to see if anything's changed. Nope, basically where it was a minute ago. Okay, so many of you missed Brian White's episode earlier today. You really want to go back and check that out. We took a hard look at some of the recent statements that Elon has made where there was a lack of clarity about what Elon meant, and we teased those out. Hopefully we've got the right solutions, but these were important. So I'm going to highly recommend that you follow the card above, go back and check out that video that Brian and I did earlier today. We will have tomorrow, I'm going to start a series that will probably be at least 2 days, maybe 3. Instead of Brian White tomorrow, we're going to have a special about Tony Seba's new blog post about robotics and about Optimus. I think you're going to like that one a lot. And then theoretically, we'll have Scott on Wednesday. We'll have Cern on Thursday, and then we're back to Brian White on Friday. Of course, all of that's subject to change, especially while I'm on vacation. Off to Cape Cod tomorrow. And other than that, that's all I got for you tonight. It's been great talking to you.